Well, good morning. Happy Saturday and happy Thanksgiving to everyone watching. So, my name is Dr. Hokehe Eko, and I have an amazing guest with me today, Miss Chi Boakye, who's actually my cousin. And
Yay!
yeah, since Thanksgiving is all about family, we decided we would come on together and share an amazing story that she has about her child who has autism. And so I'm going to let her introduce herself. Chi, welcome to the show. And please tell our listeners all about you, okay?
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And oh, yeah, lovely to be with my cousin, whom I haven't seen in a while and who lives so far away. But yeah, it's lovely that technology allows us to do this. So, my name is Chi Boakye, and I'm what you call an alternative educational consultant. And so, I got into this because when my son was born 22 years ago, he was born with cerebral palsy. And then 5 years later, he was diagnosed with autism. And even before he was diagnosed, I knew that there was something really wrong. And so before I had my son, I was a lawyer, but I retrained to become a Montessori teacher because I wanted to find a way to help him navigate his environment. Because Montessori is really good with training the senses.
Mhm.
And over the course of me, owning my own nursery and having children from all walks of life, I developed my own method. And that method basically helped me to help my son for so many years. There was a stage where my son was terribly violent when he was around the age of 17. And for years, we couldn't understand what those triggers were. But now, praise God, he came off all his meds. He came off the risperidone and the meds for not being able to sleep, and he's completely a different child. But even before then, I had been doing workshops for parents in the community to help them understand how to create environments, holistic environments for their children. Environments where they were taking the right types of food, where they were making the right types of movements. And as a result, I have a lot of knowledge about helping children, neurodivergent children, and actually helping all children because I've been doing this for so many years. So, in a nutshell, that's me.
Yay. So you've said so many things. We can go in so many directions. So let's see, where should we start? So you talked about, I like the fact that you talked about the workshops. We're going to get back to your precious son, but the workshops to help parents create holistic environments. So tell us more about that. What does that really mean? And how can parents listening to you set up or at least start to think about how they can set up holistic environments for their children?
Well, interestingly, Montessori actually helps you, gives you the knowledge to train children's senses. So if you think about the five senses, but there are actually three more senses that most people are not aware of. The sense to do with balance, the sense to do with spatial, how far a child, the space around you, but
Mm-hmm.
also what's called the interoceptive sense. And we only discovered my son's triggers as to why he was so violent because during the lockdown, someone happened to mention whether we knew about the eighth sense called the interoceptive sense. And this is a sense that tells you whether you're full or whether you're hungry, whether you're cold, or whether you're hot. And it just triggered something within me. I realized my son lacks the interoceptive sense. Even though I'd been busy training other children's senses all this time, it hadn't occurred to me that he didn't have this sense until it was mentioned to me. Now, let me explain to you, because as a result of him not having the sense, he didn't realize he was gluten intolerant, which we only found out during lockdown. So all that time we'd been going out, we eat barley, we eat flour, we eat anything, and all those times he would lash out in absolute anger and rage, we wouldn't understand why he was doing that. But it was because he was feeling pain, but wasn't able to express to us that he was feeling pain. So now, what do I do? Because it's not so much that he can understand what he should, you know, when he feels pain because of gluten. But I now make sure that everything that goes into him goes out. So now he eats fiber. Now he, I mean, what I'm trying to explain to you is that I would never have understood how much nutrition affects behaviors of children to the point where they can absolutely lash out if it hadn't been for my son. So, of course, he doesn't eat any gluten. We stripped all his food of gluten. And it's interesting because one of the things I had mentioned to you was that I've realized that a lot of the foods that he loves are foods that were grown indigenously in Africa. So rather than loving things like wheat, he loves things like cassava. You know, and we use a lot of cassava flour for many different things.
Right.
But also, another aspect of the method that I use to help kids is the one to do with movement. I help to train children's movement, and that's also very important.
Right.
And it's not necessarily just asking a child to do exercise, but it's helping a child to be coordinated in the way they do the exercise.
Right.
I've realized many people don't realize that even somebody like the Olympic swimmer Phelps, he managed his ADHD with swimming. And it's not so much the you know, number of times he swims, it's the way he moves, the movements. So for instance, now let me give you a very simple example. If I were thinking about training a child on the trampoline, I wouldn't just say to them, go on the trampoline and jump. I would say, I'm going to make a sound, a repetitive sound. I want you to jump to that sound.
Okay.
And once you get a child to do something that they wouldn't ordinarily do, the brain creates neural pathways. It creates a way for the brain to be nourished. And it really makes a difference in the way a child then goes on to flourish, because they're moving in a way that they may not ordinarily have moved. And that really helped my son growing up, just doing certain activities that would force him to concentrate and force him to take certain types of action.
I like that. So it sounds like instead of parents, like it sounds like we need to be more intentional and more hands-on with the kids, right? Instead of just saying go play, it needs to be an intentional play. And of course, there's so much research that shows play-based learning is the best, right? Because you're not just teaching them to move, you're also teaching them to move in a balanced way, right? Because now they're moving to a beat.
100%.
Makes sense.
100%. I mean, the way, because my method is based from Montessori's method. I don't know whether you've heard about Montessori, but she was an absolute genius. I mean, I have actually seen children as young as 2 learn how to write and read at the same time. Let me explain to you what I mean. So in a Montessori classroom, you get the child to use their fingers to trace, for instance, let's say S. You get them to trace it. Of course, they don't know what they're tracing because they're quite young. But you also get them to say the sound. So now you've got touch, now you've got the sound, and you've also got them speaking. But then you make sure that S is in a particular color so that they see that color and they're tracing it. And by the time you start putting various letters together, you can actually get a child without even realizing it. And before you get them to say it fast, sat. It's profound, but it also is a great way for children to really embed the knowledge that is being taught to them. It also has helped me with people who have dyslexia, because a lot of them complain about the words jumping off the sheet. And when you get a child to learn how to write that way, it's far more effective than if they had just been using workbooks.
That makes sense because the brain is making those new connections between the sound
Absolutely.
and the finger tracing. Makes
Yes. And
sense.
the movements as
And the
well.
movements, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's how you can teach kids who are neurodivergent and
Yes.
even may not be verbal, right? So
Oh,
you
yes.
can also use that method with even kids that are nonverbal.
I mean, with
Something
what I've done with nonverbal children is I actually had a little boy who was nonverbal, but interestingly, nonverbal children are still interested in music
Mm-hmm.
as long as they can hear.
Right.
And even with a child who is nonverbal, they can usually almost always hum.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually use the sound. I mean, the best one that they use in the Montessori classroom are bells. And then you try to get the child to imitate the bells.
Mm.
So, and then you also can show the child that they're the ones in charge of their vocal cords. So you say, you ask them to hum loudly, for instance, hum softly. And after a while, the child begins to realize they're in charge because many neurodivergent children, it's the senses that are not working well. So they're not aware of, you
Right.
know, why things are not working the way they should. But
Right.
then when you show them that they're the ones who are capable of taking their power back, it, it,
Right.
it, it actually works. And so I've seen a little boy have amazing musical ability, even though he's not very good at speaking. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of singing, it's quite remarkable to see.
Yeah, I always tell all the parents I see and take care of in my practice that it's so important for us to become detectives of our children, right? And to just see what their strengths are because every child has a strength. Like your example with the little boy who's nonverbal, but his strength lies in music. And can you imagine if we didn't note that, then that would be
Exactly.
an untapped skill that he has that can bless the world, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So true.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And so I wanted to go. Can you tell us a little more about your journey with your son? Like, I know you
Yes.
said he used to be full of rage. Like, how did you handle that? How are you using the methods that you teach other
Mm.
parents? How are you using that to help him?
To be honest, there was a time when it was just so challenging. We actually thought we'd have to put him in an institution. I mean, we would even take footage of him, not realizing, of course, that he was in so much pain. We take it to the doctors, and they wouldn't understand. They wouldn't understand. He was diagnosed at the time with irrational rage syndrome, which we found really frustrating because, of course, we knew he had a lot of rage, but to add syndrome at the end to us was a bit like, for crying out loud, we need something more than this, you
Right.
know. And it was a while before we could even we weren't able to cope. It was so difficult. But I think when I think about it now, I would say that because afterwards I did a lot of research, and what I came across was that so many Black children who are autistic suffer from gluten intolerance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to me that nobody even just thought perhaps we should look at his physiology and see what was going on inside. There seems to be more of a leaning towards wanting to give him medication, which of course at the time we were grateful for. But now we realize he really didn't need that. It's just for someone to understand. As a result, I have moved towards Black child parenting, which I never thought I never thought I was going to do, because since doing so much research, since my son, getting so much better, I've really realized that there are just so many how should I so many triggers in this society that really, I would say, tend to affect children.
Oh yes.
tend to affect Black children far more than they affect white children. So let me give you an example. My cousin, he's an architect in the States. Oh, that's where you are actually. And I remember him telling me that his son had been told, my cousin had been told that they needed to give his son certain drugs to manage his movements. Apparently he was what they considered to be disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
But my cousin told me that if they had been in Nigeria, they wouldn't have given him drugs, because a child back home, it's not difficult to find something for him to do, I mean, so I do feel that a lot of how we are isn't understood. Black children have a lot of energy. That is why we're the best runners. That's why we're the best. We're really good at what, in terms of athletics and all that kind of stuff. But when you train the movement, it really does wonders for a child.
Yes.
So I went and got, because I was now looking to figure out how best to help children with training their movement. I went and got a certificate for boxing. My son boxed for quite a while. And, people might say, oh, but would that not make him more violent? No, on the contrary, he had no clue. He couldn't, sort of link the two, as the boxing is equal to violence.
Right.
And it really helped him. It's just that unfortunately, the one that he was going to stopped. He also did capoeira, which is a kind of Brazilian dance that he loved and was good at. Even today, he does yoga in the place that he goes to, and they tell me that he's so good at it. But if you notice, all the kind of exercises I'm talking about are those ones that you need technique.
Mm-hmm.
You need technique. It's almost like they need to be focused on the way they move for it to make a difference.
Right.
So that could mean, I even went and enrolled as a Zumba instructor. Can you believe it? Just so I could understand how Zumba worked, even though I cannot stand Zumba and I'm a bad dancer. But now, as part of the program that I'm going to be starting for children, I've created what's called African Dance, Rhythm and Movement, ADRAMO. That's ADRAMO, African Dance, Rhythm and Movement. And it's interesting because when I first started, I actually asked a friend to help me to decide on the kind of movements. And we decided on movements that you see in Africa, like, when they're pounding with a pestle, we said we're going to include movements like that. Or like when you're sweeping with a brush, you have to bend down, use the brush in a particular, the brush that you find only in Africa. Movements like that, are going to be included in the African dance rhythm and movement. And we'll be using drums, the djembe drums particularly.
Okay.
So I'm quite excited at where I'm sort of heading, because I think in the past I didn't really feel as motivated to go down this route as I do now. Since my son, is fine now, I feel I have a lot more time. I feel like I can really think about it. So yeah, exciting times ahead.
Wow. That is so cool. I love the idea of incorporating the dance and the sweeping movements.
Yes.
Who would have thought that doing this,
I know,
to help a child learn to coordinate their senses? Oh my goodness. So tell me, you mentioned the interoceptive sense, right?
Interoceptive sense.
So
yes.
how can you use that to train a child? Like maybe a parent listening and their child like seems to just eat without stopping, like they always seem hungry.
Wow.
Is there a way that we can train the children to not always want to put something in their mouth?
That's a tough one.
Okay.
I mean, in that kind of situation, I suppose you have to go with what we as adults would do, which is basically we would probably decide there are only going to be a certain types of food in the house. You have to hide the food, or you could possibly have like a routine. So every time he knows when he's going to eat. Like even for my son, he needs prompts a lot. So he won't actually get out of bed unless I come to tell him to get out of bed, because he just doesn't know. He has no sense of time. So what I've decided to do is to buy an alarm clock. And when the alarm goes, I'm going to try and train him to get up at that time to go to the bathroom. So it could be that with a child who eats a lot, I think it might be good as well to try to get that child to join you in cooking the food. I don't know how it might be difficult for that child. I don't know whether.
Well, I mean, you can start anywhere, right? You can start
Yes,
little as put some fruits in the water for me, so that you can now drink flavored water versus adding a chemical flavor into the water. I mean, I always tell parents, just start where you are, where your child can start there. And you'd
yes,
be amazed though, because if we start to see our kids from the lens of no limits, there's things that they can do that we don't think they can, right? And unless we try,
absolutely.
we'll never know. So yeah.
Absolutely. I would also say, because often I think maybe when children don't have as much to do, sometimes they're bored. And you know, from what I've I remember there was a boy that I had in the when I had a Montessori nursery. He would always, I actually had him because nowhere else would have him. And apparently he used to, if you know what it means to like fart a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't figure out why. And I actually went to his mum's house. I actually made a visit. And it turns out that this little boy is he craves fizzy water or fizzy drinks. I had to make a decision as to whether she wanted to help her son or not. Because I do feel that many parents, as much as they know maybe even sometimes what to do, sometimes they're scared of their children. This lady definitely was scared of her son. Sometimes they feel like they just don't have the heart to say no. But you have to think, in how many years' time this child that you're not helping is going to be in a far worse situation than they are.
Mm-hmm.
So it is about thinking, like in this situation, to do with the boy who eats a lot, it probably will affect everybody else in the family, but they will have to be on a strict, hiding or keeping that boy on a particular routine. And while he's eating, he's only allowed to eat certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And if he makes a fuss, because I do know what it's like when children make a fuss. I mean, my son was very, very violent at some point. It can be very scary.
Right.
But the truth is, if you start to be very tired, as long as you know what the issues are, as long as this little boy wanting to eat more is not something to do with maybe an illness, then you do have to you either distract him or you get him to join you in doing some kind of work that may even burn the amount of calories that he's eating. There's so many things you could do.
Right.
That you know
Yes.
yeah. So
I like that because, and I think, to go back to the parents who may be scared of their kids, I have seen that in person. I have seen kids hitting and
yeah,
fighting parents, and
oh,
right in front of me in my office, and I'm like, wow.
yeah,
And it's
definitely.
just for parents to know that it's nothing, they shouldn't be ashamed of it, but ask for help, because it could be as simple as, we need to change what he's eating. And the gut and the brain are connected, right? And it's the brain that controls behavior. So if what the child is eating, because gluten inflames the gut, right? And anything
Absolutely.
that inflames your gut or your tummy is going to inflame your brain. It's only a matter of time. I mean, they're connected. There's research that shows the brain and the gut are directly connected. So that's why you can see a correlation between what a child is eating and a behavior, and even the way they sleep, and if they're picky or not, and if they're constipated or not. All those things are connected. So thank you for highlighting the fact that it, how important what we put in our mouth is, because it can literally make or break you. And our children
100%, yeah.
are being put on medications, and we are not addressing what's really going on. And every medication has a side effect. And I'm not against medicine. I mean, I'm a physician. I prescribe
Sure.
medicine. But before I
Yeah.
get to the medicine, the first question is, what are we eating and what do we need to change? Because yes, like you said, your son had been eating that for years and years, right? And
Yeah.
not, we couldn't see the correlation. And but then at some point the body builds up, so, like the insults to the body is so high that you start to see the symptoms like rage or not sleeping, things like that. And the child unfortunately can't tell you what's going on. So thank you so much for highlighting that. And I know before we came on, you said you were going to ask me a question about that.
Yes, yes, because I just think I was just yeah thanking God for the fact that you know we're in the same family and you're doing something that has helped me, because you're the one that told me about magnesium. Do you remember all those years ago? And
Yeah,
as a
and that's
result,
all I knew then, because I haven't even I too had just figured out my own issue. So I'll tell the people listening quickly. I
imagine that. Yeah. So tell
Yeah,
us, yeah, how you got into that, and that's really
yeah.
interesting.
My 9-year-old's, her lips turned black and like jet black, and I
What?
could not figure out what. And then she started having breakouts on her face. Her behavior started changing. She wasn't doing well in school anymore. So of course I took her to the allergist, and I was like, they said nothing. Like her tests were all negative. So that made me upset, because I'm like, Miss Doctor Physician, you and I, but no, look at this kid. Her face looks like she has allergies. Like, how can you say everything is negative?
That's
And
crazy.
so I took her to dermatology. Nobody could figure out what in the world was going on with her skin. So became desperate, and I started looking online and just asking people. And I had no idea what integrated medicine was. I was a
Wow.
pediatrician. That's all I knew. And then I came across integrative medicine. I was like, what's that? Then I started asking questions, and then I found out about this blood test for food sensitivity. I did. Oh my gosh. My kid was highly sensitive to
My
gluten, eggs,
word.
pineapple,
Wow.
cashew, all the things. I thought I
My
was like the
gosh.
amazing mommy feeding her kids wheat bread and all the wheat
Me
things.
too. Me
And
too.
it
Me
was
too.
literally taking her out on the inside. Like, so I'm that mommy, and I don't recommend this for everybody, but I cleared my fridge that day. I was like, okay, everybody in the house, we're all egg free, gluten free, dairy free. That's it. Don't know what else to say. It's like the whole family needs to be on this, because we can't be eating eggs and she's sitting there like, how are
Exactly.
we going to accomplish this? So,
Yeah.
in 6 weeks, her lips cleared, her
Oh
face
my
cleared,
gosh.
and I was like,
Amazing.
oh, hold on, what just happened? That's how my
Amazing.
journey into integrative
Is
medicine
that
started. And so when
that's
I
one hell of a story.
found out how so many kids are deficient in magnesium, and magnesium helps with sleep, it helps nourish brain cells, it helps
Unbelievable.
clean you out. And yes, she also had constipation, and I was like, how in the world is this not clearing? So yeah, food is medicine.
Food is
Food
medicine.
is
And
medicine.
that even
And
reminds me, because one of the things that the doctor told us when this was coming towards the end of you know his you know we had just discovered, I think, that he was gluten intolerant. So we took him to a doctor, and one of the things the doctor was able to discover was that he lacked vitamin D.
mhm,
Now, this is an interesting one, because I think for years, my brother always complains about winter. You know, our winters here are quite intense. I don't know what yours are like there,
yeah,
but we have lots of grey.
mhm,
And I always laugh at my brother. What's wrong with you? What do you mean you have SAD? SAD is called seasonal affective disorder.
mhm,
Um, and I'd make fun of him. And then I, at some point, I even said, let me get you one of these lights. They have these lights that, turns out we Black people need vitamin D in the West,
mhm,
particularly women. And that a lot of our depression doesn't necessarily come because we are feeling like we're having a bad day. It becomes because our skin is not good in this weather. I had no idea. And it's not the doctor that told me that. It was when he told me that my son lacked vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went on to say, oh, a lot of children who have autism, who are black, lack vitamin D. I was like,
Correct.
so now
Yep.
my son takes magnesium and vitamin D every single day.
That's right.
Every single day without fail.
Yeah.
And I told my brother, I'm sorry for making fun of you. I still need to get you the light though. But there's a reason why so many of us are not happy when it's very dark and grey.
Yeah. Yes. So parents, definitely. And that's something I do with all my patients. Baseline vitamin D. We need to see what's going on because vitamin D um, affects the function of the brain. So again,
Absolutely.
everything we all need to be thinking, what do we need to do to improve the health of the organ itself, the brain?
Yeah,
So the brain needs the most oxygen. That's why movement is important, right? But like you
absolutely.
pointed out, not just any movement, intentional movement. The brain needs the most water in the body. If you don't give the brain, if you don't drink enough water, you're going to be constipated. Your brain is not going to function
So
well. It's
true.
all connected. You're not going to
All
sleep well
connected.
because
Yes.
this is what controls your sleep. And if
Yes.
you're not
So
feeling good,
true.
it's
My
not going to
goodness, that's
work.
such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we look at everything from the lens of how can we boost the health of our brains, then we start to make better choices before you put it in your mouth saying, is my brain going to like this food or not?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
So
100%.
yeah, wow, this has
Wow.
been so good. We can keep talking, but please let's talk about the program you're starting for parents to help them train their children's senses and also work on like their bodies as a whole. So tell us.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start now to because I think for quite a while I'd always wanted to create courses and do a lot of stuff that I'd learned about my son to help other parents. And because I'd done workshops a long time ago, I felt that would be a natural course. But I just, especially when my son seemed to get worse, it just never happened. But now I'm ready. So I'm starting off with a free workshop that I'm having on the 11th of December, and it's to help help understand how to help neurodivergent children to go from the tantrums to being transformed. And the keys, there are a few keys that if a parent of a neurodivergent child understands, the path to recovery is a lot more. I wouldn't say recovery because you never really recover. It's being like neurodivergent is who you are,
Right.
but at least it helps to iron out those kinks that so many people may not, you know, understand is affecting their child along the way,
Hmm.
and what is making them more angry than they are. I'm even going to be giving out 10 of my. Oh, you may not be able to see it because I think you can't see it, can you?
No, I can't. You're blurred.
Yes,
That's
I'm blurred. Okay, that's fine. It's
well,
called
tell us the title of the book. Yeah.
Angry Angus and the Crunchy Apples. I wrote that book during lockdown. It's a reflection on my son. I wrote it in rhyme. It's quite a humorous story about a little boy who is just always angry, and then he has an obsession with crunchy apples. That was the autistic bit of it. So I'll be giving for the first 10 who come to my workshop, they'll get this book. I'll send it to them.
Oh,
But
good.
yeah.
I love it. And everybody, we have the link in the chat, and
Oh, thank
you
you.
to sign up for her workshop. I know for sure it's going to be amazing. And
Thank you.
yeah, no, because lived experience, there's nothing, I mean, you can't replace that.
Absolutely.
So I'm so thankful that you finally decided that you want to share your gifts and all
Yay.
the
At
knowledge
last.
you have learned with all the parents who desperately are waiting for you. Good.
Oh, it's taken so long, but anyway, I'm finally here. I said, thank
So
you so much for putting me on here, because it's almost like the moment I decided, okay, I'm going to go for this, you just invited me on this. It was like, wow, this is crazy.
I'm like,
And
yes,
you're the
sure, sure,
one,
we're doing it this week.
and
That's
you're the one who said, Chi, when's your workshop? I was like, what? You're like, set a date now. I was like, wow, you need to be a coach.
yes, I'm working on it. I've
You'd
been
make an
told that
excellent
quite a
coach.
few times.
Oh, you'd make an excellent coach.
Yeah, no. So everyone, please attend the workshop. It's free. You
That'd be
get a
great.
copy of her book, which is wonderful as also. And the best part is you get clear-cut strategies on how to help your children move forward from having tantrums, from not sleeping well, and all of that, to being transformed in the sense of they can thrive. They can go out now, right? You can now go out with your son,
Oh
and you're
my
no
God.
longer afraid of he's going to have
Mm,
an angry tantrum outside of the house or all of that. And so it's free. It's freeing, right? When we have the tools that we need. So go check out her workshop, please,
thank
everybody.
you.
My pleasure. So do you have any last minute things you want to say to the parents who are listening?
Yeah, I'd say hang in there, parents. You know, you were chosen to do this job, and you are doing a good job. As much as you may be in tears a lot of the time, as lot as sometimes it may be like, I can't take this anymore. Hang in there. You know, you will have some breakthroughs as long as you don't give up. That's the way I'd put it. Because there were times when I just wanted to give up. I felt like, and so now I haven't even thought about my son once during this whole time I've been sitting here. I know he's fine. I know he's not going to be kicking the furniture, or rushing into the kitchen and literally sweeping everything on the counter. That's how he was before. So honestly, I am just, yeah, I still have to pinch myself.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So parents, you heard it. Yes. I know. I thank you. Thank you so much
You're
for
very welcome.
sharing
You're
this,
very
because it's
welcome.
going to help so many parents know that there is hope. There
Yeah.
is absolute hope. And yes, it is possible to improve the lives of our children. So
Mm,
yeah, so thank you so much, parents, for listening. And
thank
if
you,
you're
Terry.
looking you think that your child may have autism or ADHD and you need an evaluation, we're here at Glow Pediatrics and we can get you in within 2 weeks. We'll get it done so your child can get the support they need at school. And of course, after the evaluation, we also offer integrative medicine, meaning we teach you how to go from constipated to not sleeping to picky eating to having a child who's happy and is thriving. And so,
Wow,
yeah,
fantastic. Well done, you.
so happy and to see you after all these years. Let's not make that happen anymore, okay? Okay. So take care,
All
everyone.
right, my dear. You take care
Okay,
too,
so
yeah?
please stay on, okay?
Okay.
Let's say it right. See. It's still showing us as live. Technology.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to end it. Let's see. Why is it not ending? Okay. Well, what